Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu today we have Chaosrise, a hentai bullet hell shoot 'em up from Multi-World Software. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. So just a quick note about the controls. The game only has keyboard support at this point. So if you want to play with the gamepad, I recommend some sort of joystick to keyboard mapping. It makes your life easier. At least that's my opinion. So as we start the new game, we're taken to our character select screen. Here we can choose between the game's two protagonists. Arya, who has a homing fire shot with weak attack and higher speed, or Noir, who uses an ice shot that is more of a spread type with higher attack but lower speed overall. And we'll be using Noir for our playthrough today. The three difficulty levels, normal, hard, and no life. So the game does have some cutscenes and dialogue throughout the course of it, but we'll be largely jumping past that today. Starting stage 1, before we really get going, I'm going to pause the game and go into our skill window. And here's one of the things that I really like about this game. So it has this interesting experience skill point system where as you defeat enemies you gain experience, and once you level up you're given skill points. Those skill points can be put into the skills you see listed below: attack, attack regeneration, attack upkeep, dodge, magic regeneration, magic upkeep, speed, and life increase. I'll explain this a little bit more in detail after we've gone through the first stage, but for right now I'll dump the one skill point we start with into attack regeneration. And onward with level 1. So as we see, we have that standard shot, and as I was mentioning, Noir's is a spread ice attack. Our power levels are indicated by the 2 meters on the right. The red meter is our attack meter, and the blue meter is magic. Magic acts as a screen clearing bomb, as seen here. Noir's is an ice wave which freezes enemies. If you're playing with Arya, hers is an absorption magic attack. So it will clear the screen of bullets in a different style. It actually absorbs the bullets, increasing your attack meter in the process. The attack meter will decrease as you're firing your shots and slowly regen when you're not firing. So that's the reason I put my initial skill point into attack regeneration. Your attack meter controls the power level of your shots. Also above the attack and the magic meters, we have our life bar, indicated in green. You have 10 points of life that you start the game with initially. And it is possible to refill that if you take damage by collecting green orbs that the enemies drop. The other color orbs, white is just points, red will refill your attack meter, and blue will refill the magic meter. So in my introduction I mentioned that Chaosrise is a hentai bullet hell. So it is possible to turn off the adult content, which for the purposes of our video today I did, but the hentai content that's present in the game, with the adult content turned on, there's a character status screen, or rather your character has a status indicator on the left side of the screen, where as you take damage, she takes close damage. So the more damage you get, the more clothes that you'll end up losing throughout the course of a stage. Also, if you happen to get a game over, there are CGs for that as well, and in a rather nice fashion, they're dependent on where in the stage you happen to be at. If you're just in the main stage itself fighting the normal enemies, or if you happen to lose against a sub-boss or the end-of-level boss, then you'll get different CGs. So we finished level 1, so it gives us the option to go to the skill window again. And here with 2 skill points, we have the ability to upgrade our attack regen or attack upkeep, and what those actually are. So we know what the attack regen does now. That increases the rate at which our attack meter refills. Attack upkeep is the rate at which the meter decreases. So if we were to put our points into that, that would decrease the amount of power that our shots actually take. Dodge decreases the size of our hitbox, which is relatively small to begin with, but you can make it even smaller. Magic regen does the same as the attack regen, just for our magic. Same with the magic upkeep. Speed will make us faster, of course. Speed 2, I think, is perfectly reasonable. And then the life increase allows us to refill our life bar using skill points. Once you've got your skills upgraded to where you're happy with them, I think that's a great way to go to keep yourself from losing lives. But that's more of an endgame option, or at least that's the way I look at it. So we'll dump these 2 points once again into attack regeneration and continue. There is the ability to save and exit, so if you want, you can actually save the game and come back to it at a future point. It's not a very common feature for bullet hell at all, so that's definitely welcome. If you do happen to get a game over, the game is somewhat forgiving with its continue system. You have 9 continues from the start, and the way the continues work is each time you continue, you'll start with 1 less bar of health full at the start of the... Well, rather from where you continue, as you continue from the point at which you died. So that's great. But over time, the more continues you've used, the less life you have, and the faster you'll die once again. So a couple things I have neglected to mention so far. So there is a slow movement and a focus shot that you have available. The slow movement and the focus shot both indicate where your hitbox is, so it's easier to dodge around the enemy bullets. We don't see it nearly as much in the first 2 stages, but in the later game, some of the bosses have some really awesome bullet patterns to dodge. The Stage 3 boss, for example, has a really neat spiral pattern that is just impressive to watch, even if it decimates you. Taking just a little bit more damage than I would like, but that's alright. So, I hit a game over there. So as you see, I did continue, and I started the game with 9 bars of life. So, as I mentioned, as you continue to continue, that'll be 8, 7, 6, so on and so forth. Fortunately, we can fill our life bar further past that by collecting life power-ups and not taking damage. So as we get to the end of stage 2, our boss, at least as you play through the game as Noir, is the other protagonist, Arya. If only you had this kind of attack power when you went and played her. When it comes to which character is easier to play, overall I would say that Arya is the easier character to play as her shots, once you're past the weakest level on the attack meter, have homing bullets. And they home even in focus fire, whereas Noir, when you're using focus fire, her shots are just a narrow stream, so you have to aim more carefully. But it is satisfying that both characters have a different playstyle. So, as we're in the middle of this boss fight, let's talk a little bit more about plus flavors and minus flavors for the game. So the plus flavors, I love that experienced skill point system that the game has going for it. Being able to upgrade certain parts of your skill tree. It's fun to see how you can change your playstyles and affect your progress throughout the game by just changing some of your point and skill values. And another thing that I'm a huge fan of, as I mentioned, some of the bosses have some really neat bullet patterns, kind of like we were seeing there. Some minus flavors. The lack of controller support is disappointing to me, as that's the preferred way I play shoot-em-ups on a PC. In addition to that, the game doesn't actually have any full screen support, which is a little surprising, so you'll have to play the game in a window. And I feel that some of the boss fights are actually a little bit too long. The bosses are just a little bit too tanky, and your shots maybe just not strong enough to take them out in a fast manner. So the boss fights just feel that they are overly long sometimes. The stages themselves are also a little bit plain when it comes to background, and the enemy sprites could be a little larger, more detailed. Sometimes they seem a tad bland. But overall, Chaosrise is a quirkier title that, if you're looking for something a little bit different and you don't mind games with adult content, this one might be one that would be worth your time looking into. I'll include links to the 2 locations you can buy the game below in the description. Just be aware that both of those sites would be NSFW. So, as always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.